Welcome back. So, haven't recorded anything in a few days. I've been working on a bunch of other stuff, not really airplane stuff, just trying to get the garage back in order, helping my son on the other side, doing some stuff on my vehicles, all that kind of stuff, just regular life stuff. Back to the airplane. I did do a little airplane work that I didn't film. I took the right wing out of the cradle, got it up on the table. I took the fuel tank back off on the right wing because I wasn't happy with, I don't know if you can see it or not, but this seam between the leading edge and the fuel tank, that's the left wing, but the one on the right wing, it still didn't fit quite right. So I took it off, did some filing and sanding on it until I was happy with it, put it back on. Hopefully that's back on for good now. I really am tired of taking the tanks on and off. The other thing I did was I mounted the aileron and adjusted the throw of the push rod so that it was at neutral. I will film when I do this on the right wing. I had to make up the spacers and all of the hardware for it, but I have some Delrin stock on order to make the stops for those. I've heard that's a lot better than what Vans recommends with this aluminum angle. I like the idea better. So that's gonna come back apart so I can put that back on, which unfortunately it's a pain in the ass to put that thing on. There's lots of washer stacks in there in specific orders and they're very hard to get on. You definitely need a washer wrench. I have one which I didn't think was going to work. Here it is. You know, I love 3D printing stuff, so a while back I 3D printed a washer wrench, and to my surprise, this thing actually works. I don't know if I'll be able to show it or not, but the way these things work is you take a washer and you snap it right in there, and if I can get that to focus, it holds on to it so you can slide it up between and then slide a bolt through it. And then once it's in, you just pull it out and it pulls right off. So very shocked that the 3D printed one worked out as well as it did, but it does. So that was a win. But like I said, I'm gonna have to take it all apart so I can make that stop for it. And then I'll put it back on knowing full well it's gonna come off again when I go to paint the plane, because ailerons are gonna come off for that. So I'm not gonna run any of the nuts down or anything like that. I'm just doing this because it's a convenient place to store them once it's all done. I'll do the same thing with the flaps when I get the bottom skin on. They'll be temporary mounted to the wing, and then I'll block the two together so they stay together, and that'll just keep them off the shelves and free up shelf space for me, and less likelihood they'll get damaged, I think, if they're on the wing and on the cradle. So that's where we're at with all of that. I will film all of that again when I do it on the right wing, and when I redo this for the stop and all that, there'll be footage of that coming up. I've got a whole lot of stuff on order again, little parts, things I wasn't sure if I was gonna do. I'm trying to finalize what I wanna do inside the wings. I've gone back and forth on the pitot tube. You can't mount the pitot tube itself until the wings are mounted to the plane and it's at flight level, and then you adjust the height of the pitot tube so it's level with flight level. But I will benefit from having the pitot tube now to install other stuff before I skin the bottom of this wing. So I went ahead and I ordered it. I'm getting a heated Dynon pitot tube. Hopefully it'll be here in just a few days, so by next weekend maybe I'll get around to installing that. What I need to do, I have the mast already. I bought this a few months ago from Aircraft Spruce. This is not the Dynon one, this is the Avery one. It's supposed to work just fine with the Dynon probe, and it's like half the price. The quality is excellent on this thing. I don't know if you can see it, those welds are beautiful. So this is going to go right about here. Again, I don't know if you can see that. Here, let me turn the camera so you guys can see. There we go. So this thing is going to go right here. There's a little flange on it. You drill it for those holes. Then you got to make a hole in the skin so that you can slide the skin over this thing. And for that, they give you this handy little template. Actually, I got a couple of them here so that I can mark the skin. I have the skin laying out over here, so I'm going to start working on, in this video, getting this thing drilled, mounted where it's going to go, and make the scary cut in the wing skin for it, and then I'll Cleco it over it, make sure it all fits the way it's supposed to, so that I can get it mounted. This will get permanently mounted before those wing skins go on. The other reason I've got the Pitot tube on the way, I don't need it to do this obviously, but the heater control box for it is going to live in this bay right here. And I would really like to get that now and get it wired up. So I've got wire on order, I've got the Pitot tube on order, so I can get that all wired up. I can also finalize how the connections are going to be for the static, or not the static, but the AOA and Pitot lines. I can make all those fittings work and get that all done. I've got some bulkhead fittings on order from Summit Racing that I think will fit through these holes, so that I can just connect the Pitot probe on this side and my hoses on this side, and it'll be clean and easy, and I don't have to make any extra brackets. That's the plan. We'll see how it works. But for today, we're just going to try and get this mast installed. What else before we go? I am going to hold off on the roll servo until later on when I start doing the rest of the avionics. I don't think there's going to be an issue with putting it through the access hole and hooking it up to the bell crank on the other side. I think that'll be just fine. I did order the connectors and cabling for it from Aircraft Spruce, so that's coming with the Pitot probe, so I can run those cables, make the D-sub connector, and get that all there and wired up and ready to go, so that when I do get it, it's just plug and play and it's all in the wings. And then the last thing I have to do on the right wing is I got that NACA vent that's got to get mocked up and riveted to the skin. So these are all little things that are coming up. Once I finally do run out of stuff to do and I'm happy with where it's at, we'll skin the bottom wing, and then that's pretty much it. That's as far as I'll be able to go with the wings until until they're ready to mount later on and start doing other stuff with them. So what we will do, if I run out of things to do while I'm still waiting on a fuselage, which hopefully I'm going to order this month, we'll see. I'll let you guys know when I do. I can start going back to the fiberglass tips and the closeouts and all that fiberglassing I was doing on all those other things. So that'll give me something to stay busy for a while I do this stuff. And then I just need to figure out how I want everything else to go, what I want to close off, what I want to leave open. I haven't decided if I want to try and fill these spaces or not. I do need to leave access for these bracket nuts, so lots of little things to decide. Anyhow, I'm going to go back to the GoPro and you'll hear the voiceover of how the rest of this went. I don't know if I'll get it done today, but we're just going to do what we can do. So stick around. All right, welcome to the voiceover part. So that worked out better than I thought. This entire session only took about an hour and a half. So cut out the template. You saw me showing it off to you. Now originally I was planning to put it where you see me putting the template right there. I've seen other people put theirs there. The directions recommend the other side of that bay, and not sure why I eventually decided to change my mind and go with where the directions said to, but here in a second you're going to see me move it over and commit to the other side. I think part of it is I'm just making sure I've got plenty of room to reach anything I need to reach through that lightning hole, because there is no access in the bay that it's going in there. So I decided that's gonna work out just fine. So now I'm gonna commit to putting it right there. Time to get the skin installed. Now I don't need to Cleco this entire thing on. I just need enough right around the area where this is going to be to make sure that all of that is square and lined up with how it's going to end up being. So there's a little dashed line, you might have seen it on the template, that shows roughly where that flange is supposed to be. I was using that originally, but then I realized the directions tell you specifically to make sure the bottom edge of the template is flush with the line on the skin. So I move it up here in just a little bit when I tape it on. Since I have the laser level, I decided that was the best way to ensure that this thing is straight. First I have to shim the wing a little bit to make sure that it is straight and level. And now I'm just shooting that laser line across the center rivet, which is in the center line of that template on the bottom, and then through the center line on the template at the top, and making sure that it's crossing the corresponding rivet on the trailing edge of the wing. I figure that's about as straight as I can make it. Now the directions tell you to stick tape on there and mark it on the tape, but they're assuming you're installing this in a plane that's already skinned. In retrospect, putting the tape on there was a bad call since the vinyl is already there. The tape just peeled as I tried to cut it. So if you're doing this and you still got the vinyl on, just leave the vinyl on and mark straight on the vinyl. It'll be much easier, and you'll see me revert to that here in a little bit. So happy with where it's at. Mark it out and commit to the scary part of punching holes in the wing. Use the unibit to make a smaller hole in the trailing edge of that thing, and then a bigger hole towards the leading edge. And now I'm going to take the skin off and we're going to go play connect the dots. So I'm using the Dremel tool just to connect the circles. And then I grabbed it like an idiot, not realizing that it's a smoking hot piece of aluminum. Anyhow, change out to a deburr spiral cutting kind of bit. And right now I'm realizing that there's the mistake with the tape, because it's kind of peeling the tape up and it's hard to see where my line is with any kind of precision. So here I'm marking the center lines on the wing so I can take the tape off and then reapply the template right back where it was. And now I'm just marking straight on the vinyl. Should have done that to begin with, so if you're doing this, try that, it'll work better. So I know that the template is slightly smaller than the actual mast. So I'm pretty safe to go right up to the line with that deburr tool. And now I'm using the mast to kind of fine tune how much bigger the hole has to be. So I made center marks on that mast on the leading and trailing edge, and I'm lining them up with the center marks I made on there so that I can keep it straight, and then I'm just transferring the lines, and now I'm deburring and expanding that hole just to the lines. Once I start to get it to fit, then I'm going to switch from using this thing, which is kind of aggressive, and I'm going to go bust out the files and start fine-tuning it. Because the last thing I want to do is go too far in any one direction. I can't put this material back. So now I'm using the half round file, the big one first, the nice coarse one. I'm using that and just the round file until I've got it where I want it and have it going in there nice and smooth. And then I'm going to switch to the really tiny fine files to clean it up. And then at the end of all of that, a lot of work with the Scotch-Brite pad to deburr everything. There you go, you see it slipping in there now. Another thing that Dremel slipped on me a couple of times, this is the surface of the skin here. If you're going to use that tool and you're not sure you can hold it steady, you might want to flip it around and do it from the back side. That way if it does skip, you're not making scratches on the pretty side of the wing. Thankfully, nothing was bad because I had the vinyl there. So, one other problem right there. The template is slightly smaller than the base of the mast. So when I put it in there and started to cleco it down, the rib that it's up against was pushing it over. So I had to go take a tiny bit off of one edge and clean it up, which is what I was showing you there. Now it fits perfectly. There's ever so slightly some tolerance in there, which is perfect because I don't want this rubbing on the rib as it flexes in flight. I'm using the laser again just to make sure that it is as dead true straight as I can make it before I drill out for the rivet holes. And there you see me measuring the laser line top and bottom just to make sure that it is straight. I'm happy with it, so I'm going to finish the holes. All in all, it came out really well. I'm going to show you some final pictures here, and that's it. We'll pick up some more when the rest of the stuff comes in. Hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you found it helpful. Here's some parting shots. Really nice clean hole. I'm pretty happy with the way that thing came out. It's going to have some Pro Seal on it at the end too on the inside, so it should be tight. Anyways, I'll see you all on the next one.